Hello and welcome everybody to another fantastic week here at EGF. We're going to be putting on some more Valorant for you today. Just a quick little two-match set here for tonight. Our first game did get canceled, but for the second game, I guess you could also now consider it the first game. RIT versus UT Arlington. Kevin with a K, Sir Waltham here to bring you all the casting entertainment. Kevin, how's the day been going, friend?
Fantastic. It's a little chilly down here where I'm based in Atlanta, but it's going to warm up over the course of the week. But as far as what everybody actually cares about, I'm ready for some good Valorants.
And
Sounds like
I mean, I have absolutely have to agree with you there. I'm definitely ready for some high-paced Valorant action as well. For me personally, it's a little hard to get a read on these teams. I mean, aside from the fact that we're about halfway through the season already, I mean, 4 weeks, it seems to have flown by just like that, if you're asking me. But the score lines we're going to be looking at: UT Arlington, they stand at a nice even 2-2 win-loss, and on the other side, RIT actually had a bye week last week, the week before. So a little less data on them as well. Their match against Montana, which would have been their last aired match, uh, wasn't aired, so we don't necessarily have the exact stats on how that turned out. I have them currently at about a 3-0, however. So right now, if you're looking numerically, statistically, if you're a math type person like I am, not all that often, you're going to be looking at them to have that advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's entirely reasonable to say. We can take a look at the rosters here in just a moment as well, because I've watched a good amount of UT Arlington's games, and maybe is one of the players that it can play very supportive, but can also be a playmaker when it comes down to it. Obviously, like Rain and Krad are people that we've seen as well. Usually, Jaquavius, Julian, Krad, and maybe I believe are the core four, and then they sub out their fifth person every game or two. And then for the side of RIT, who I've not yet seen, we have Vision Killer, Goon Guy, Wills, Sticky Rice, and Hunter. Since I haven't seen these players at all, what I did last time, I hadn't seen any of the players on stream for myself.
Mhm.
I liked to fully guess who I think is somebody we need to look out for, and I'm going to say Vision Killer. The name alone makes me think that they're, or at least gives me high expectations.
Yeah, that's a very like, and to me, that's a very like MLG, like old school Xbox lobby kind of a name, but I absolutely agree. I love the name. I mean, it was the aesthetic back then, uh, for a very good reason. It just sounds very cool. It sounds very intimidating.
Mhm.
I like the name Crad personally. It's short. Um, it's monosyllabic, but you don't hear it all that often. It's not like an oof or it's a new sound, and I
Right.
like it.
Absolutely. I love those short names. The one and two syllable names just sound so professional. Like the big names of the people that you would hear on like the big stage. Usually it says one to two syllables, if for no other reason than the fact that they felt like they had to shorten it for the pro scene. But in any case, that's names alone. I'm excited to see with our maps, starting with Split. That was the first map that we picked, following Ascent as well as the next pick, and then Bind was what was left as the decider. What are you looking forward to seeing in our first map here?
Uh well, when it comes to, what I'm looking forward to, Kevin, I mentioned this to you a little bit before we started the broadcast here. I'm glad we get to see kind of the plain Jane, the normies of map pools, because I have not been as fortunate. I've been seeing a lot of Sunset, and I don't remember if Breeze is in the map pool. I feel like I've been seeing a lot of Breeze.
Yes.
Maybe I've just been playing a lot of Breeze.
Oh, I've seen it a
Uh,
lot too. It is in the map pool, and a lot of people are picking it lately.
Yeah, so I'm happy just to get back to what I consider the kind of fundamentals of Valorant. I mean, aside from the fact that uh, these maps have been in the game mostly the longest. Ascent came out immediately after, or maybe not immediately after release, but it was the most immediate map after the game's release that did come out. So very much looking forward to them. Split. I like seeing the team compositions that do come through, and I think it gives us a good vibe as to what these teams might be feeling, not just necessarily in terms of character choice, but also in terms of mentality, in terms of how they want to play the maps.
Entirely fair, especially with the latter two of the maps, which I find to be the most interesting. Ascent and Bind are more of the solved esque maps where you have kind of three or four agents that are always picked and then one or two flex, maybe. But
Mhm.
Split is a very flexible map when it comes to agent composition. You can see double controller on this one. You'll see like a breach come out now and again. Cypher has seen a lot of popularity, especially with the recent buffs. I expect to see a Cypher here or there. But we already have double controller locked in for RIT and a Jet. So we've got smokes galore.
Yeah, so far very excited to see these teams kind of lock in and assemble that double controller coming through, at least for the side of RIT. Yet to be confirmed if it's going to be similar for UT Arlington, although it looks like they are currently hovering that Astra, I believe. And it looks like those are going to be locked in, finalized. Looks very similar on both sides of these boards, if I'm being honest, Kevin.
Absolutely. Agree with you 100%. The comp on the left specifically is, I want to say, the most picked agent comp for Split altogether. The Jet Rays double duelist, double controller with Astra Viper specifically, and then Sky to kind of act as the initiator info gatherer. And what you do is, instead of playing traditionally like a central lockdown on a site, you play for zones, kind of like a zone control in football, for example. You take over zones with like Viper walls. A main is a very popular one to take over, essentially cutting off a lot of information when you're on attack, and then allowing the rest of your team to push for information and for small pockets of space going in, and then execute on a site when you feel comfortable having plenty of smokes to do so. On defense, it can be a little bit tougher, but you still play that same zone option, and Viper can kind of act as a pseudo sentinel in a lot of ways. So Viper is like the hard lurk A player, for example, if you needed to rotate people over to B. So I like seeing that the comps from both of these teams, and I like seeing the double controllers.
And on the attack, it's going to be immediate. The teams pushing on towards that site. And so far, not a lot of resistance being put up. We see that Jet immediately go in for the entry dash up there and try to find a bit of space with some moderate success. We see the Nebulas up from the Astra, trying to buy just a little bit of obscurity there. Hunter now slowly backing out towards spawn, but eventually gets taken down, and the spike is going to be going down here in short order.
Yep, and look at this pushback here. Wow, something took that out. I couldn't quite make it out myself, but as soon as we saw that, Wills is in the heaven, grabbing picks one after the other, and they're going to be pushing into CT with no issues whatsoever.
Yeah, and this is going to very quickly become an issue for the defense if they can't manage to maintain themselves on this retake. Although UT taking one down is going to make it all that much harder for RIT, but we can currently see that Viper going in for the defuse, gets it to full. Not quite sure exactly why the attackers let off the gas there, but they're going to be walking away with all the kills, but none of the points.
Yep, that's a very interesting way to start that round. I think first round is information. You know, the players are playing for understanding what the attackers are going to be going for. It doesn't feel good to lose defense first round, especially on a defense-heavy map like Split. But again, first round could just be information. Second round is obviously buy versus eco. So I expect to see, once we come around to the bonus round, to see if everything goes according to plan for the current defenders of RIT, if round 4 plays out as full guns versus full guns. But that's a ways away. Let's get into our round 2.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, I noticed UT Arlington didn't decide to go full eco. They still have a couple of sheriffs, a couple of ghosts in hand, as I saw it anyway. Of course, there were a couple of surviving members. Those might just be holdover weapons from the previous round, but a very quick spike plant once again. It seems like Arlington really love getting themselves nestled onto point as quickly as possible. And right now, they're just trying to hold for these positions. We can see the defenders slowly trying to make headway here, and Doomguy immediately going to be taken down. Crad maybe quickly followed up into the dirt by Vision Killer. Your personal pick there, Kevin, and now continuing to try to fight through these blinds. Not going to quite be so successful in RIT. No huge surprise there, given the armory, but they're going to come up with the round win.
Yeah, actually very interesting there. I like the start of that round for UTA, right? They got all of site control, but RIT playing very intelligently to give up site and play almost exclusively for retake, moving together with their guns. You could see kind of that zone control like we were talking about in A main, both of the Viper walls being up and present there and pushing through in and out of those Viper walls, pushing through with 3 specifically into the Viper wall to take a pick down and then push through main to get control back onto site. It was very, like obvious that that's the right choice. Sheriffs, classics, ghost doesn't matter. If you're fighting against 2 people, with Spectres and close quarters, you're
Mhm.
probably going to be taking a loss there. So I really like that play.
Oh, we can see RIT using a lot of that push right towards that mid. EGFC taken down immediately. That Viper wall no longer going to be in effect for the attackers. So if they were going to plant A, it's now just a little bit more exposed. Speaking of exposure, Hunter perhaps showing themselves a bit too early. Julian has their sights trained right onto that entry. Deciding whether they want to use that utility or not. Pressured a little bit by the snake bite, but not enough to be bothered. It's going to be Hunter who comes out on top, however, even trading up to that Vandal. That could be very essential moving into this, and certainly not a giveaway you want to have your opponents in. And now the Astra remains the only one standing, but she's all the way in vents. That doesn't look like she's going to be able to do anything but hold the gun.
Yep, and holding the gun is the right choice here. You know, when your bonus round goes as well as it does for RIT, the side of the full buyers are hurting for pocket change going into the next round. So it's the right choice to save the gun. They could, you know, theoretically have 2 hero guns here if they wanted to, but it's definitely right to just play around your 1 hero gun, wait for the following round to actually make a big play, and just see if you can make something happen here, hurt their eco a little bit, because starting 0-4 again, expected on split, defense heavy map, but really tragic to lose your buy round like that.
Yeah, it's certainly not great for the momentum as well. You definitely want to get started off as successfully as you can see yourself here. And that might be a little difficult for Arlington, as now they're starting to poke, prod, see what kind of angles they can find, what kind of vulnerabilities they might be able to suss out from RIT. But so far, this is a different look from Arlington. They're not being as aggressive. They're not pushing as immediately onto site as we have seen them historically.
Like that dash in, but Sticky Rise with a nice angle there, and throwing the paint shells to stifle anybody that wanted to follow that push means that it's just a clean numbers advantage for RIT.
We can see Jaquavius currently trying to navigate their way over to a site. Not going to be able to find anything. However, it's that A Viper lurk you were mentioning. Not going to be as successful. RIT still has full manpower. And once again, Arlington just getting picked apart piece by piece. Not too surprising, given the firepower that they have, but still just as backbreaking.
Yep. Good play there. I like RIT holding those zones like they have been. These paint shells aren't going to be too much other than some zoning paint shells, but with the Nebula being present in male, not much doing there. Although that's a fantastic shot.
Yeah, Julian having some good target reacquisition here. And I liked that from Vision Killa, picking up the Vandal so it wasn't as easily accessible to the opposition there, knowing that they're very light on weaponry. Julian not quite able to do too much with it, and right now it looks just like a stall play coming in from UT Arlington. Not going to be able to really do all that much with it, given the Spike's position.
Yep. Hold on to those guns. Well, I guess gun at this point. You know, it's as good as you could hope for, but it gives your eco a little bit of padding for the following round, since now is the buy round for UTA.
I got enough time to go into the Astro
again,
Fall.
a tough spot to start in, and so the timeout does come through, which I think is the right choice. Reassess now that you have guns. Don't wait until you've lost 2 more rounds to call the timeout. Call it early and figure out what the game plan is, because what you're doing right now isn't working.
Absolutely. I mean, it seems to make sense that it would be more efficient to, you know, pull the e-brake as soon as possible, right? If you're driving in a car, you don't brake, you know, 5 inches before you're about to make collision. You typically want to brake, you know, way before that happens. So definitely agree with the attackers taking that that timeout as mentioned, but RIT now going to be looking to kind of respond here. And do you think RIT are just in a position to kind of, I don't want to say coast, but kind of relax, or do you still think they're trying to figure out the read on UT Arlington?
I think this round is the most crucial one for them to clench up. Be prepared for what the plan is coming out of this timeout. Is it going to be a hard push? Is it going to be, you know, 4 pushing for info with 1 lurk? Or are they going to do a default play? What can you possibly expect coming out of a timeout? Play exactly how you have been playing, but keep it tight. If you can win this round, you have all of the momentum that you need to finish out this half with probably 8-4 at least, if I'm making hard predictions.
One, but the Jet dashing in, perhaps a bit too confident. Not quite able to find anything. Showstopper comes out, and now The rare opportunity for
Player
UT Arlington
standing.
to be at a big advantage here. Hunter, the only one who remains standing at that B site. Question is, how aware
Can't use
of
that yet. Need
that
back.
are UT Arlington? And well, they're a lot more aware of it now, courtesy of Jaquavius. It should be a quick rotate onto A side if I'm having to guess here from UT Arlington.
The right choice. I think you leave one closer to mid, because you know exactly where the Astra is. You want to probably hold one heaven, if I'd have to say, and that's exactly what they're gonna do. They're gonna leave maybe in heaven to look for audio information, because you can't walk all this way and still have time to take out 2 and defuse. I like the plant spot, but coming through A main is heard at this point for the side of UT Arlington. They know.
Yeah, but what a fast response coming in from
One enemy
RIT.
remaining.
It's like that Astra knows almost immediately Hunter has the read that the plant is going to be going down at A. They were already halfway the distance there before the spike was even down.
Incredible play. I mean, that was heartbreaking for UTA, having 3 versus 1, losing 1 in just kind of a stray 1v1 when you didn't need to, right? You didn't need to take that peak, that fight in Garage. And then the other 2 not playing together when you found out where the information is. You only hold heaven so that you hear where the information is. You don't actually need to hold aggressive angles or crosses. You just need to hold it together when you find out where they're coming from. And so being able to isolate those 1v1s was incredible from Hunter. And that's a round loss that hurts more than any of the others. Now you are hurting for money again, though you're still forcing up here, which is desperate.
A bold strategy, Cotton, we'll say. And it's going to be Goon Guy throwing down that Viper's Pit immediately, denying any of that main possession that could potentially come through for the attackers. I say that. Of course, you could push into the Viper's Pit, but I don't think you'd really want to, given how fragile and vulnerable, or given how much it lowers your health pool, I should probably accurately say. The rest going to be pushing up through vents. An interesting clip through that Viper wall. They're going to be able to get the 1, followed up with a second as well. RIT have lost only 1 versus the 2 for the side of UT Arlington, and they are slowly working their way, but Sticky Rice almost had a perfect timing there to turn, get the angle. Not going to quite be able to go in with the flash, but Julian should be aware. Sees the barrel of the gun, goes in 1, gets the second as well. Great performance from this race so far. That's not the bomb buddy, just trying to clear up that upper ramps area as well. Goonguy going to be hearing that, but the communication should have already been there with their team. We'll see how the response is. But right now, again, the time pressure's up on RIT and especially Goonguy.
That's a tragic loss there, too. We're just missing the shots to perform on that 1 kill that maybe could have snowballed you for the rest of it. But in any case, great play from Julian, hiding in that corner there and knowing just how far out to swing whenever the 2 defenders pushed out to try for a retake position on lower ramps. Now, Sticky Rice, I think, had the idea. Looking the right way, but wasn't quick enough on the trigger / wasn't precise enough on the head. Vision Killer was holding the forward angle because they trusted that Sticky Rice had the swing, and so they just got taken out as collateral, which is unfortunate to say the least. Again, great play from Julian.
And if you're on RIT's side, you gotta be hoping it's more of a one-off than anything. Sticky Rice tries to go in on Julian, but Julian, once again, proving to be perhaps the more proficient Rays in those situations of exchange. And Will's trying to hold up towards Heaven, manages to get the shot onto Crad, but there was quick follow-up, so there should be presence of mind. UT Arlington has a lot of opportunity here, and Wills immediately gets flushed out of Garage. That should be the plant going down, perhaps taking a little bit longer than anybody would want.
It was a bit of a misplay, I think, from Wills there, thinking that everybody was pushing through mail and thinking that you had Garage to yourself. And then when there was 1 person, you thought, okay, maybe I can timing them and run to the other side. But when you saw 2, you were dead. So unfortunate, but giving up full Garage control too, and now all of sight belongs to the attackers.
Rain, Vision Killer making an interesting exchange here, but Rain holds steady, doesn't get hit by the flash. I believe it may have been one of their on the outside, but Hunter gets the kill onto Julian, but it's not going to quite be enough as Jaquavius is there with the up. Picks it up for good measure on this next round as well.
Rain must have been making hella profit off of Bitcoin because those diamond hands holding strong in the smoke, waiting, knowing that it's going to be successful even when the Sky Flash comes through. That was great. Awesome play from Rain to prevent entry from screens there, and a timeout is now going to come for the defenders because I mean, 2 rounds to UTA back to back off of a 5-0 start for RIT. Not how you expected the momentum to go, especially since the round immediately following UTA's timeout went to RIT. So what went wrong is a great question to ask.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to look at the first round that UT Arlington win and say, oh, well, they just got very fortunate that their Rays got 2 kills on ramps after the spike or as the spike was going down. That puts the 2 remaining members of RIT under a lot of pressure. And then the numbers eventually just don't go their way. But there's so much more to unpack as you start looking at, is this a trend moving towards, 6th, 7th, potentially 8th round now?
Definitely a good question to ask, especially since this half still has the potential to favor UTA with how poorly it started. It could still end 7-5. So this is a great place to stop and say, if we can secure a couple more rounds, we've done what we need to on defense, although you'd like to close it out even more strongly. Switching the Viper to B site here is a very interesting adaptation.
And Goon Guy, we're going to be seeing them hold very far forward. And with the number in Garage, Goon Guy's likely got to be anticipated to play on limited time unless they can just absolutely... Oh, this... Oh, it doesn't tag him. Oh, that is so unfortunate. Goon Guy able to get 2 in that Nebula. Might give him just a bit of space to get out. It does so, in fact, but not quite able to turn and get the shots from the Judge connected as necessary. But still, 2 kills for the price of a Judge. I don't think you can be too disappointed about that. UT Arlington gonna have that possession of sight for the time being, and Will's gonna be dashing in, throwing some knives right to the forehead of Brad. Trying to make things look real nice for RIT, and the wraparound comes in. Will's with a nice, decent right click into the brisket of rain.
Goon Guy, 1v5. Everybody else is on A site. I think one was ropes. By themselves, holding down the entirety of site, just switching Viper over to B, using the wall and the smoke to keep the attackers from pushing in hard, and then the second that they peek together, grabbing 2 with the Judge. In the meantime, the rest of RIT has pushed 3 through A main, rotated all the way through attackers spawn, and got through to Garage. So even though site wound up going to UTA, they were constricted by the rest of the map belonging to Rochester.
Will's keeping tight vision down with that up firing, perhaps just a moment too early, not quite able to make the connection and get that kill leading into this. Although Crad going to be a little bit more fortunate. Hunter got it on B site, and now it looks like the response is going to come in from RIT to start swarming a few of their members towards that site. The question is, with mid still possessed by Arlington, or at least more possessed by Arlington, do they decide to try to pivot and go to A and, forsake the kill that they got on B now that the response might start to be here? We are starting to see RIT equalize just a little bit more. The response awaits, though.
Yeah, I think forsaking that kill is maybe not the thought process here. They got the pick, and they got a second one, so they're actually just going to enter onto site regardless of how many people have rotated over.
Ooh. That is indeed a very nice shot from Will Quavius. Not going to be able to throw up those snake bites, not going to be able to throw down the Viper orb as the spike does get planted. And Will still has this dominant high ground position. We'll have to see if UT Arlington continue to test their mettle against this player. Wills doesn't manage to make the connection just barely, and Krad's going to be happy to exchange them in that situation. And this guy has to be very careful. They know that there's an op that's likely to be aimed at this heaven area. In fact, they can see the tracers as it goes in front of them.
I'd be hard-pressed to believe that Vision Killer is going to go for this. I think that you just hold the gun, regardless of what the eco looks like, because going for 1v4 with no time remaining, you just want exit frags. Not going to find any, but I don't know about being this close to bomb as it's going to pop off. You're going to get it, though. We're going to get the op and be able to hold off. So that's good. That's good stuff from Vision Killer. They got the round that they wanted off the timeout, right? They went from 5-2 to 6-2. But the response immediately came out from UTA, finding that early pick with the operator on Crad.
Here.
Yeah.
I think that they should not have re-hit B. They got really lucky killing Jaquavius there. That was a fantastic pick that enabled it, but getting that pick and resetting momentum is the right decision. Force Rochester to respond with numbers or with some sort of motion and just reset. I think that's a perfectly reasonable thing to do when you have numbers advantage.
Well, the numbers continuing to look favorable for the time being for RIT. Viper once again going up. We know that through that Trailblazer come out, and the Viper tries to dash through with some decent timing, or tries to have the decent timing to catch that Sky. Kind of stunned behind that Trailblazer, does not do so successfully in RIT. Take the first loss of the round. We're going to be seeing now the walls drop from the defense, or excuse me, from the offense. And now it's just a matter of time. It looks like UT Arlington not too committed to this. We see that they still haven't picked up Spike, as if they were intent on carrying it to the site, whether it be through mail or through garage. And right now, both these teams look a little bit anemic, not quite ready to push the advantage either way.
Satchel out.
Oh, looks like they're gonna have it down though. Wow, what a showstopper, grabbing 2 before getting traded back out, and that's a really, really good play, especially on the save.
Yeah, we're gonna have to keep eyes out. Julian might make this turn against the Sky here, but it's gonna be tough. Not sure if they're even conscious. Oh, but Wills doesn't quite have the angle lined up for the swing from Jaquavius. And at the same time, Astra goes down as well. UT Arlington now have to take a little bit of time to go get the spike. It's a little bit what I was fearing, as time given up is less time pressure we could be seeing in the future. But Julian with a nice little headshot onto RIT's Sky, who's right now perhaps just waiting to figure out if this is even the location of the spike, and it will eventually be the kill with I believe it was the classic coming through from Julian. And now things looking 6-4 scoreline, not too bad for UT Arlington.
That's a great attack score so far. If you can capitalize even one more round, a 5-7 scoreline is really nice going into defense on split. Everybody would be happy with that. And since RIT has to actually save, they forced last round. I mistakenly said that it was a save. It was a force round, which is why the showstopper came out and they tried to make something happen. It was a good choice. But imagine if Goon Guy didn't try to live up to their namesake and jumped through the smoke and died immediately. You know, it was a noble effort, but that round could have gone differently. If they were planning on using this showstopper to begin with, they probably should have played a little bit safer to start.
And kind of what I would expect to see from a team that's running a little bit more of a conservative armory. You see RIT, at least it did see them for a while, kind of working together, using those overwhelming numbers as possible if there's a little bit more of a default look coming from Arlington. Not going to quite be the case, as Arlington knows not to press their luck, but they're instead going to be taking that spike all the way over to A. We haven't seen too many A hits aside from the first couple of rounds in this half. And now we'll see if it buys them any more purchase here. It looks like RIT might not be too anticipating this all that much. We can see Jaquavius holding in sewers for any rotations that may come through. No, instead it looks like they're just going to wrap around, regroup with their team. Hunta likely has ears on the team, and it is going to prompt a response from the rest of RIT.
This is why that we place that Viper Wall really early prevents your control. When you have one on A and you're able to use a Viper Wall to get your entire team onto site. Now the re-hit is still strong. 5v5 on a full retake. When the attackers don't have the best positioning here, I think it's entirely possible.
Ooh, what a good opportunity coming in from those members at spawn. But Crad with a nice little 2 spray transfer. Hunta has to try to make something happen, but it's all going to have to happen with the Stinger. Not